Let's talk about the benefits of nutritional yeast. I primarily recommend nutritional yeast mainly for a natural source of vitamin B1. Now, realize that if you're going to buy nutritional yeast, a lot of times they fortify it, and they fortify it with synthetic B vitamins, which are sourced from things like coal tar, acetate, ammonia, hydrochloric acid. Well, I just want to let you know a synthetic B1 is not the same as a natural B1. Synthetics are a lot cheaper. Natural B1 is a lot more expensive because you have to use a lot more raw material from some natural source to get a very tiny amount of the vitamin. But what you're going to find out, it's totally worth it. The effects that the B vitamin, specifically B1, has on the body are pretty dramatic, especially nowadays as it relates to this thing called stress. But there's a couple confusions that people have when you're talking about nutritional yeast. First of all, they think if you're going to consume nutritional yeast, they're going to get a yeast infection. That's absolutely not true. You're consuming deactivated yeast, but mainly the byproducts of what yeast create. They are B vitamin machines. They make B vitamins. They make amino acids. In fact, nutritional yeast is a complete protein. It has all of the essential amino acids. It has quite a few trace minerals too, like selenium for the conversion from T4 to T3. It also has zinc and copper, which is very important in your immune system in building testosterone. It has chromium, which is really good for blood sugars. It is loaded with phosphorus, which makes up something called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy currency of your body. It'll give you more energy. And nutritional yeast has something else called beta glucan. You may have heard of that when people are talking about oatmeal or consuming Cheerios, because these grains are so-called heart healthy, because beta glucan is a type of fiber that can help lower your cholesterol. But what about all the carbohydrates in cereals? That's going to raise insulin and create other issues. But beta glucan can also help with the immune system. But out of the B vitamins, the trace minerals, the protein, the amino acids, and the beta glucan, I usually take nutritional yeast for vitamin B1. Everything else is kind of like a side note. All right, let's just talk about B1 for a minute. B1 is the most important water-soluble vitamin. Vitamin D is the most important fat-soluble vitamin. And this is just because how intimately B1 is needed in all of your cells, in the energy factory of your cells called the mitochondria. When you take oxygen and you have fuel and you add a spark plug, you get energy, right? So that spark plug is thiamine, B1. Without the spark plug, without B1, you cannot generate energy. If you give the mitochondria too much fuel, as in a high carb diet, you're going to flood the engine, much like I did with my ATV last week, in fact. It just wouldn't start. And so I eventually took out the spark plug and there was just way too much gas that was flooding the engine. And I had to completely clean all that out before I can get the spark plug to fire correctly. So in our bodies, if we have too much glucose, too many carbohydrates, the requirement for B1 goes dramatically higher. And if you're not consuming the B1, you're going to be completely tired all the time. That's called chronic fatigue syndrome. So one of the big benefits of nutritional yeast is it gives you energy. It's great for athletes to maintain endurance. But there's some other really cool benefits that I want to mention. But first, I need to explain part of the brain called the limbic system has different structures in it that do different things related to homeostasis, which is the body's ability to adapt to the environment to maintain a constant state of function internally. And also you have the autonomic nervous system that's working with this system. So we have both the flight or fight mechanism and we have the rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system. So sympathetic and parasympathetic. One system is trying to speed everything up and adapt to stress. The other system is trying to calm things down, help you digest, and help you sleep at night. And so out of all the structures in the brain, the limbic system is the part that needs a tremendous amount of oxygen. There's a lot of oxidation going on in the limbic system. And so the need for B1 is really, really high. And so that part of the brain is very susceptible to a vitamin B1 deficiency. And one part of that system, called the amygdala, gives you the emotion of fear. It's a survival mechanism. And so if you are deficient in B1, you're going to find that you have different states of fear, like anxiety. You feel nervous. You feel panicky. If you're sleeping at night and you have nightmares, that means you're deficient in B1. What is a nightmare? Well, those are different pictures that give you fear. In fact, they did experiments in animals where they took the amygdala out of these animals and they had no fear. Now, that's very dangerous from a survival mechanism, because if you see a poisonous snake and you're not afraid of it and it bites you, you die. So we need fear to help us survive. Now, what about panic attacks? That is a severe B1 deficiency. So taking nutritional yeast can greatly help anxiety and stress and make you feel very, very calm. And it usually takes within probably a few minutes after consuming it. And by the way, you can get nutritional yeast as a powder, which is a little difficult to take because you have to kind of mix it with something, or you can get it in a tablet. I'd put some information down below. But if you get it in a tablet, I highly recommend that you chew it. You don't swallow it, because a lot of times the tablets are a little bit big. Now, what does it taste like? Well, some people like the taste, some people don't like the taste. So I would just look at it like this. Even though the taste might not be that great, it's going to make you feel really good. So the feeling that you get from it is going to be a huge benefit. So nutritional yeast lowers anxiety, stress, panic attacks, helps get rid of nightmares, and it really helps to decrease irritability and definitely the sensation of feeling aggravated. If you have a low tolerance to stress, so let's say, for example, you can't tolerate, I don't know, babysitting 18 small children in a room for over 8 hours, or you just for some reason don't like someone that's driving very, very slow in front of you, then you may benefit from nutritional yeast. Now, let's say, for example, you drink a lot of coffee and you feel this nervous, jittery kind of feeling. Nutritional yeast, boom, it just will handle that very quickly. Or let's say, for example, you go to bed at night and you start thinking and excessively, the thoughts just keep going and you can't turn them off. Nutritional yeast. So a really good time to take nutritional yeast is actually right before you go to bed. Even though it increases energy, it won't keep you up at night. In fact, it kind of will calm down things so you can drift off into a night's sleep. It definitely enhances your sleep more than anything else. Also, because nutritional yeast is loaded with the trace minerals and amino acids, it's really good for your hair. So if you're losing hair, nutritional yeast could help you. Nutritional yeast also can help a condition called POTS. This is the condition where you stand up and you feel dizzy and you might feel like you want to faint or pass out. That is part of the autonomic nervous system's inability to adapt to stress, the stress of standing up where all the blood flow has to go to your brain. So if you don't have enough B1, you will develop POTS. Also, nutritional yeast can actually give you the B1 necessary to overcome climbing up a hill without getting winded. So if you're climbing upstairs and your legs are heavier, that would be a perfect indication for nutritional yeast, because it's going to support the autonomic nervous system's ability to cope with physical stress. All right, another really positive benefit is your pulse rate. Your autonomic nervous system controls a lot of things, but it definitely controls the pacemaker and your pulse rate. So if you're deficient in B1, you might find that your pulse rate goes higher and higher and higher. You might find that you get palpitations. Nutritional yeast can help you with that. Another thing that is connected with the B1 deficiency is your breathing. Let's say your breathing is off, which it usually is during a stress event. Well, nutritional yeast can help you with that, because anything that is connected to the autonomic nervous system can be improved with vitamin B1. Now, the other interesting thing that a B1 deficiency will manifest as is either excessive hunger or no appetite. A mild B1 deficiency will cause you not to be satisfied after you eat something. So you're going to want to keep eating something and you're just not going to be satisfied. But a very severe B1 deficiency can cause you to lose your appetite. So apparently the centers in the brain that are the satiety centers that help satisfy you are very vulnerable to a B1 deficiency. And the last symptom that can happen with a B1 deficiency that can be improved with nutritional yeast is just general confusion, lack of clarity, lack of focus. And that has to do with another part of the brain, which I'm not going to get into, but a B1 deficiency can keep you in a state of confusion, which things are just not clear for you. So anyway, I wanted to talk about the benefits of nutritional yeast. Now, if you haven't seen my comprehensive video on vitamin B1 that I did at one of the keto summits, it's quite interesting. Check it out. I put it right here.